Hi, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from Mason Works Marketing, and I am so excited to introduce Richard Rudis to you today. Hi, Richard.
Hello, Kathy. Thanks.
Hi. So Richard Rudis is he calls himself a North American Gong Master, but he's so much more. The work that he brings in connects you to your soul through sound healing, through remarkable transformational energy. And Richard is coming back to Colorado in July. So I asked him if he would be so kind to explain the technology and give us some insights into why it's so important that we take the time out and experience his gong baths. So Richard, could you give us some ideas about what happens during a gong bath?
Certainly. The Gong bath is based on my Buddhist studies and based on the physics of sacred geometry and how it relates to our composition, both physically, mentally, and even spiritually. So we can manipulate the frequencies. The first part of the Gong bath, for instance, is based on frequencies that the mind will entrain to. So I can create a feeling of sanctuary by stimulating the delta aspect or states of consciousness. And then use that as a platform to delve deeper into the subconscious, the conscious mind, the physical being, the belief structures of who we are, all within a very receptive, polytonal nature of the instrument or instruments themselves. Within the tradition of Tibetan Buddhism, sound has been used for multiple purposes, but within the medical portion of that, sound is used to essentially alter consciousness and to alter your physical being.
Yes.
So if I can continue with the physical aspect of it anyway, there is on my YouTube channel, which is under Richard Rudis or Sonam Dorje, my Tibetan name. There's a video of blood tests where we did a number of people, I think 6 altogether, over a couple of different tests, different periods of times, where we would take people's blood prior to the experience, a Gong bath experience, and then afterwards. The change is remarkable, just on a purely physical blood nature quality. The blood being sort of clumped together and working very slowly, the white blood cells being dim, the overall corpuscles being small in nature, and what I refer to as toxins, which appear to be little black specks inside the cell wall, are very present. And then after the experience, the same person, another blood test, the blood is the corpuscles in themselves are expanded, which allows for better blood flow, better oxygenation of the blood, nurturing of organs. White blood cells, which are the warriors of our blood, of course, are brighter, bigger. The immune system is increased. And then the little black specks have actually moved from inside the blood cell to the outside of the cell barrier into fluidic suspension between the bloods. There, we could use sound and obviously hydration and other meditative techniques as well as physical techniques to literally move those toxins out of our body. So on a purely physical level, within a 60-minute or a 90-minute gong bath, one can increase their immune system, increase oxygenation to the blood and organs, increase the immune system, as well as rid themselves of toxins. And that's really almost, from my point of view, it is really just scratching the surface of what occurs in an actual gong bath.
They're amazing. I know you feel revitalized, reconnected. There's a heightened a joy and bliss that comes from the activity. And some of the gong bath sessions are with 2 gongs, and then some are with 4 gongs.
Mhm.
And usually we go to the 4 gong events, and really those are just amazing as well. And it isn't like the gong is loud. It isn't. I mean, I think people have a concern about, oh, is it going to hurt my ears? And it doesn't. It's like the frequency goes through you, and it creates this exhilaration, I think. Do you find that a lot, Richard?
I do. The interesting thing about using sacred sound instruments, instruments that have been designed essentially in the polytonal nature, a full spectrum of frequencies that literally relate to each one of the chakra points, each one of the acupuncture points. To begin with, one really needs to have a well-crafted instrument, and then, of course, the ability to use it in a careful way. But the interesting part of each one of the experiences is that it meets the individual where they happen to be. So, for instance, a lot of times, I've been doing this for over 20 years, and when I first began, only women came to the experience, and then slowly, I think they would drag their significant others to the experience. And men, being a little more skeptical sometimes, would adhere more to the scientific aspects of it rather than the direct experience. But so within that, to answer the question, within that realm, some people would feel, yes, it's rather intense, loud, especially in one quadrant of the experience. But actually, the frequencies, we monitor the frequencies very carefully, and they never reach decibel points where they would create any problem physically. However, it is intense, and it does cause us to release some control. It's like standing on the beach and watching a tsunami come in. You can stand there and wish you had some control over that wave, but in the end you don't. And that's what that louder portion does. And it's designed to overwhelm the intellect, to go more direct into the essence of who and what we are. Oftentimes I've observed those folks that feel that it might be a little loud in the initial experience, the first time or the second time they experience it. And it's a very small portion. It's only 3 to 4 minutes long out of an hour or right. Even minutes. Wow. But it is intense. And those folks are the ones that usually crave that experience afterwards. They're the folks that are getting closer and closer and closer to the gong. And sometimes they feel as though it hasn't been loud enough.
Right. Or long enough. That's me.
Yeah. In a 90-minute experience, I might use 2 gongs. And the significance of those gongs, I use a very specific gong, which is a Paiste Earth Gong, planetary yearly Earth Gong, which is tuned to a frequency that reflects the yearly transit of the Earth around the Sun, which is 136.1 hertz, through multiple octaves. The provider of the instrument, the instrument maker, has rather brilliantly been able to bring that fundamental frequency up through many octaves, more octaves than we can actually hear, actually. And the nature of that instrument, the frequency based on that yearly transit, is actually the same frequency as is found or been identified in the Vedic tradition as the frequency for Om. So it's an outstanding, remarkable, almost mystical experience in that the same two frequencies match each other, even though they're some 12,000 years apart. And by using that frequency, I can make literally some remarkable opportunities for both the mind, the body, and the spirit. With one gong I use is basically masculine in nature. In Tibetan Buddhism, only within the realm of communion of the male and female energies. The male is identified as compassion or transcendent compassion. The feminine is referred to as transcendent wisdom. And only when the two energies are combined do real transformative nature, the transformative basis of who we are, who we think we are, can then be accessed and changed and enhanced and empowered. Empowerment is what this is really all about. So in one gong is masculine and the other gong, when I use two, is feminine. And those two natures then combine together. The nature of the sound is different, even though the two gongs are tuned to the same fundamental frequency. And when I work with Greg Wilkins in the four gong experience, I play with very, very few people, and because Greg has worked with me now for many years, we can work together. He's out there in Colorado, and he's the only person that I am willing to recommend going to his gong baths, essentially, because the gong baths are like any powerful modality, can have a negative and a positive side. You really need to know what you're doing to make sure that it stays on the positive side. So when we work together, anyway, in a two-hour presentation, then we can really work on that nature of feminine and compassion moving together in ripples of sound, in ripples of experience.
So Richard, this tour coming up is called the New Moon Healing.
Yes.
And it's starting July 13th, and you'll be in Colorado the 13th through the 22nd. And I think there's 10 different opportunities to experience the gong baths. Could you speak a little bit about the New Moon Healing topic and how this makes this a little bit different for us?
Yeah. Well, each gong bath, we have a fundamental approach, which is to center on each one of the chakra points, both as a continuum, because you really can't separate them, but as an emphasis. So the first gong bath experience is based on the root chakra, for instance, creating a foundation for the healing to grow from. A new moon, as you know, that we're mostly water. There's some people have referred to us as just a clever way water has to getting around on land, and it is because of that. And the moon, you realize the moon moves the oceans of this planet, literally bulges them out. We call them tides, but it's really a remarkable experience. Remarkable feat in general, and the moon does the same for our bodies, the water content in our bodies. And the water content carries not only the physicality but the conscious levels of our minds and of our hearts. And so the new moon in astrological terms have been known as the aspect of new initiation, new beginnings. We can use the new moon energies to cause those changes or to identify those changes that we want to find in ourselves, both on a physical and mental level. So by coupling up the gong bath and playing the gong bath series in unison with the natural new beginning energy of the new moon, then we can even emphasize the experience even more.
Wow. So the intent can be for your own new creation or higher connection to the energies, the the energies are the photonic energies are escalating. And so is this a way also to connect to that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's both a personal and then a transpersonal experience. Of course, we, as we all know, we no matter what our fantasies are, we are all interconnected
Right.
to the best and the worst of us. And through that interconnection, we can, through intention and through mechanisms such as this, effectuate change for the positive. Change for the whole rather than a selfish change. Not that selfish change is necessarily bad. It's just when it's to the deficit of the
Right.
whole, it causes more problems than good, and it affects even the individual down the road. So it's important to have clarity, and the new moon will help us with that.
That's fabulous. Well, there was one question I wanted to share with you, and it's from Vicky Speller. She says, while playing the gongs for that long, how do you manage to stay grounded rather than getting carried away with the sound and vibration yourself?
Yeah, that's a really a good question and an important one for me. I have been a Tibetan Buddhist or a student of Tibetan Buddhism for close to 30 years. And in a meditative way, I've been able to keep myself centered and actually compartmentalize an experience. So I try to focus, first of all, in each one of the experiences, I try to stay attuned to the energy of the group. It's sort of a commonality, a shared experience, so that it doesn't get too intense for those who feel that it's getting intense, and it doesn't get not intense enough. Or I can actually modify the experience through manipulations of different sacred geometries and how the gong is reacting. Sacred sound healing, whether it's Himalayan bowls, which I've studied, or the gong, it is the instruments themselves are reacting to the individuals they're interacting with, and there's a feedback loop. So if I can stay attuned to the instrument during the presentation, then I can glean what's going on with the individuals outside of my own personal self. With all that said, that helps to keep me centered. But all that said, I have to admit that sometimes I do get drift away or get sucked, and it's just for a matter of moments. And then I manage to bring it back into my own focus. But yeah, that's pretty much how I do. I work very hard to stay present. And sometimes it takes more effort than others.
Well, I think you're a genius, and I have been going to see you maybe for 10 years, maybe. I don't know how many years you've been coming, but I think I've been going. And I am one of those people that want you to make it as loud as possible for as long as possible, because I have benefited tremendously from every session I've ever received, whether it's been one gong, two gongs, bowls, or four gongs. So I'm hoping that the people that get to watch this interview will be curious, and I will have the link to wholelifemodalities.com below this video, so that you'll be able to go straight to the page to see the locations where Richard will be offering this incredible gift for us. And there's, as I said, 10 different offerings. So you can go to more than one, which some of us try to do. So this way, I'm hoping that you will give yourself the gift of this. It's a remarkable experience, and easy to do. And some of your fans are commenting below. So once we're done, Richard, you'll be able to see that too. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we finish here?
Not I don't think so. I'm always excited to come back to Colorado. Colorado and mountains, or mountains in general, like there's no mistake that most of the sacred sites on this planet are in the mountains, either on the top of the mountains or on the side of the mountains. These are sacred spots, and naturally occurring. And Colorado has the gift of that. So I'm always excited to coming back. And it feeds me, it feeds my soul, really. So
Yeah.
thank you
Well,
for
we're so excited to have you. And again, if you have any questions, or if I can help support in any way, please let me know. But I will put the website where you can find out more from, it's Patrick and Kitty Shirk's website, who helps sponsor Richard when he's here. So that I will put that information below, and it is wholelifemodalities.com. So, Richard, thank you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you very soon.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity.
Uh-huh.
Bye.
Bye-bye.